All right, welcome back to Problem Solver Politics. I am your host, Cardon Ellis, with Cody the Oracle.
Hey, everyone. How you doing?
And Andrew Yang has officially raised enough money to make it into the second and the third debates, but there's some question as to whether or not he will be on the stage. Hashtag WTF, hashtag question mark. Cody, what's going on?
I'm loving the hashtags, man. Okay, basically what happened is Andrew Yang actually met the donor requirements to make the third and fourth debate, which is really good. I mean, Yang's campaign announced Monday afternoon that the long shot candidate surpassed the necessary 130,000 individual donors and 400 per state unique donors in at least 20 states. Sounds like good news, right?
Okay.
However, the donations don't guarantee Yang will appear in the September debate stage. The Democratic National Committee's qualifying conditions also require candidates at 2% in 4 qualifying polls. Now, still looking to find exactly what polls are using to qualify for those. However, I'm going to flip over really quick, and we're going to see exactly where Andrew Yang is in the polls. He needs to be at 2% by the fall or later this summer. Right now, we look over at the polls. He's currently sitting at 1.3%, which is about a 7% increase from, I want to say, only a couple months ago. So it's tracking well for him.
Yeah.
That to be said, though, all the money he's raising, all the good stuff he's doing, all of this momentum he's generating online and everything else, if he doesn't get to 2% in the polls, he isn't going to be on the debate stage for third and fourth debate. And honestly, I have to imagine it's really tough for a campaign to come back from missing a debate due to polling too low. Like, you can try to stick in it, but when you don't hit 2% to make it to third and fourth. So that being said, if he just continues to grow at the rate he's growing, he should be on track to reach there at about then. But the other big thing you want to take a look at this crowded field, it's going to start working against him because he's polling behind Cory Booker, Beto O'Rourke, Pete Buttigieg, Joe Biden, Elizabeth Warren, Kamala Harris, and Bernie Sanders. They're all polling above him. Really, the one he's going to have to look if he wants to take a little bit from someone to move up. Now, that being said, the Delaney's, the Ryans, the de Blasios, the Gravels might start falling as people. I believe Gravel actually has stated on record the only reason he's in this campaign is because he's so upset with the current state of the Democratic Party. He's supposed to point out all of their flaws. So eventually, those voters are going to have to go somewhere. Could it go to Yang? Could it go to some other fringe more candidates like Booker and O'Rourke? And one last thing before we go back over to you and get your opinion on this is we're looking at really the front runners today, you would say. As far as the polls go, like we just looked at, it's guys like Biden, it's guys like Sanders, it's Warren and Harris doing it up there. However, polling at 6%, Pete Buttigieg, he just raised $24.8 million in the second quarter.
I mean, that's massive.
And like I said, he's polling. He's not polling at the bottom here. He's polling, lower, but 6% today. I mean, look at the support Andrew Yang has. Remember, he's at less than 2%. Pete Buttigieg over 3 times his polling, raising $24.8 million in the second quarter alone, which really is a bit of a feat for someone that...
Okay, now, why has he got so much money? Okay, is it a lot of small donations like Bernie Sanders and Andrew Yang, or is it just some heavy hitters that have dropped some serious coin on Buttigieg?
I'm looking to get a little more confirmed stuff. I have to imagine if you get $24.8 million in a quarter like that,
there's heavy hitters.
There's deep pockets. Yeah, people with a lot of money are.
What I like about Buttigieg more than Biden. I mean, if I had a bunch of deep pockets and I wanted to score points in politics and I wanted to get in with, because my self-interest was motivating my activity in politics. I mean, don't forget Donald Trump was a heavy Democrat donor in New York City before he became president of the United States of America as a Republican. And even in his own debates, when people confronted him about having donated to Chuck Schumer and donated to Hillary Clinton and stuff, he just said, when they ask, I give, And so...
Well, I think it's interesting you brought that up. You want to know how Buttigieg has so much money? Oh. I'm sorry, I missed this before. Buttigieg has enlisted the help of at least 24 Democratic bundlers who had strong allegiances to former President Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton during her White House run. One of those fundraisers was Hollywood producer Nicole Levant, who decided to go all in and help Buttigieg raise campaign cash. His spokesman recently told CNBC, period. Buttigieg finished the first quarter bringing in $7 million. So what is that, a little over 3 times he raised? From first quarter to second.
Wow.
Big money. But again, to get back to
So what is her fascination with Buttigieg?
To be frank,
over
I have no
Bernie
idea.
Sanders. I mean, how many Hollywood elites love Bernie? Why aren't they bundling for Bernie?
Well, Bernie, I know he's kind of kissed up more to the establishment now. Remember, 2016, which was way back in the far back future 3 years ago, really, he was not looked at as a establishment candidate. He was looked at as an outsider, similar to how people are looking at Marianne Williamson, Andrew Yang, candidates like that today. He's in politics,
Okay.
but they were still saying, like, you don't align with the core Democratic Party. He's adopted a lot more things to align with them, which I know has both kind of pleased some supporters and angered others. I remember Bernie Sanders, he stayed pretty strong to no open borders. I believe he was on record calling it a Koch brothers conspiracy within months of recording. So
Okay.
this is something he's still bringing. But the ultimate thing I want to get back to is these debates, because one thing, looking at just face value, Andrew Yang is qualified financially for third and fourth. Let's say he makes it to the third and fourth debate through polling and finances and everything he needs.
Okay, well,
But I
so
wanna
he's
look
made
at-
it financially, and the requirement is X, Y, or Z amount of dollars, and
And unique
number
donors
of
from unique
donors
states.
in unique states. So 20 states have to come up with at least 400 donors that come up with a certain amount of money, which, okay, to a certain extent, I can understand wanting to spread it out amongst states and have it be unique donors. But in my mind, there should be also a minimum threshold of unique donors, just so that, because to me, at the end of the day, the number of unique donors is actually the ultimate test, because it's the closest thing we get to the real election.
I mean, sort of, but at the same time, there's ways to game that. You get a bunch of money from big PACs, and then all you hunt for is $1 donations to get your individual donors inflated. You know what I mean? Whereas the
Okay.
inverse, some people. But one thing I want to flip to is, because let's say Andrew Yang is polling at 3-4% coming into the summer, right?
Okay.
This is the most recent comparison I can find. 2016 Republican primary. There was also 12 debates. There will be 12 Democratic debates. It really isn't until you get to, let me make sure I have it right on the screen. Yeah. It really isn't until you get to like the 8th debate does the field really shrink. I mean,
Yeah.
it could be different. Obviously, these are two different elections. But for the Republicans 2016, similar issue, running a bunch of different people for the ticket. That 7th debate still had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 people on the stage. And one person got an invite. So, I mean, it didn't appear. So it's actually Trump set that debate out. Point being,
Okay.
you're still double-digit candidates in the last election cycle dealing with, this many people running for president until the 8th debate. So really, it's hard to say until we start getting to, it looks like, just using recent history, these last few debates is when you know who's actually the front runners. Because I believe around this time, February 6, 2016, well, Trump was polling better. I mean, there still was people like Jeb Bush and Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio in the race thinking they had a shot at this. So,
Yeah, poor guys.
well, I mean, everyone has to have a shot on it. But my only point being on this is that it's really important to keep in mind that while making these debates is good moving forward, you got to get far. I mean, probably even in this one, at least that 6th, 7th debate, till you actually can consider yourself at the top. You know?
Andrew Yang has passed the financial thresholds, but his weakness right now, you're suggesting, is that he is less than 1% away from reaching the percentage threshold in the 4 reputable polls.
Yeah, I mean, I believe it's 0.6% right now, which again, like admittedly,
But he could
he's
make
made
that
those
up
gains.
easily.
No,
Yeah.
he has. But my point being, though, even if he does, he still has room to go to make it there, as I'm trying to say. But even if he gets there, you really got to make it to 3 or 4 more debates so you've actually kind of done it, you know?
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so what does this mean for the Yang gang? I gotta say, that would be devastating to not have.
Well, I don't foresee it happening. I foresee him being there at the very least, the 3rd and 4th debate.
I know, but now, with his microphones getting turned off, which we basically know is true now, with what they did to Bernie Sanders in 2016, I'm almost wondering now, not can Andrew Yang do it, because I think on a fair playing field, he absolutely could. I'm almost wondering what kind of games could they play in order to try and slight the guy, because I do not have any trust in the DNC at this point as a fair operator in the forum of new, good, and open ideas. They have proven to do nothing but give answers via Donna Brazil to CNN to the debates that Hillary Clinton was going to have on their channel. I'm almost wondering, how could he get screwed here?
Well, speaking along this line, I don't want to get into conspiracy theories, but just people have been critical about this online.
Okay.
Let's see if I can actually pull it up for us right now. Kamala Harris, one of the big moments she had, sorry, I'm looking this up as we speak,
Okay.
was something they were talking about Joe Biden along the lines of busing. into schools. And
yeah, I remember that. And she said, I was the second class in Berkeley in 1960.
And she had that little girl was me. She had a big line where she's like, and that little girl was me when she's speaking about.
Which was completely candid and not rehearsed by her debate team.
Well, and here's the thing that people are pushing back on. I believe within 48 hours, maybe even less, she had a T-shirt printed up with a picture of her as a child saying, and that little girl was me on her website. And there was a lot of people kind of giving her this like, really? You couldn't just wait 2 days? Even if you had it, even if you did just get on it quick and get the shirt ready really fast, it looks weird when less than 48 hours later, you're selling the T-shirt for your big organic moment on stage. So
never mind that her father was a PhD who was a wealthy professor, and that her mother also was, I believe, weren't both of her parents PhDs? And it's like, do you remember when
that's a good thing, right?
No, that's a good thing. But do you remember when Eminem used to not debate, but used to do rap battles with Ja Rule?
I don't.
And okay, well, Ja Rule was walking around like he was this thug gangster from the ghetto. If I'm remembering you're the hip hop guy.
My hip hop guy. I like Ja Rule. Some of his songs pretty good, though.
Okay, well, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. But if I hyper truncate and oversimplify this story, Ja Rule was acting tough, but then Eminem pointed out, hey, you're just a private school kid from a rich neighborhood. You don't know what it's like in the hood. You don't know what it's like to struggle. I'm the guy that knows what it's like to struggle, and it ruined Ja Rule. All right? Because Eminem totally pointed out, hey, you're just a private school kid. And that was personified in 8 Mile, in that final rap battle between Eminem's character and the character that many believe represented Ja Rule, right? So isn't that kind of like what Kamala's doing right now? Pulling a Ja Rule? Like, I'm some success story of school busing, but the truth is I went to the nice, not private schools, but like...
No, because she's not lying. She that is true. The only thing I'm saying, it was just a little bit ironic that it came across as some big organic moment for her, and she capitalized it with shirts within 48 hours. Again, it probably wouldn't be as weird if there wasn't severe allegations, and I believe it was proven that some debate questions were leaked to Hillary's campaign staff before the debates. Now, debate night 1, where everyone should have looked better than they did. I mean, you think there's some people on the stage, all you have to do is kind of play it straight. But anyway, one thing I want to get to really quickly, just again, on the topic of, so there is candidates who are raising a lot of money, but we have to keep in mind it's more than just raising money that gets you on these debate stages. So of the 20 candidates who qualified for the first round of debates in June and July, just 6 are sure to appear in the September-October round, and the Democratic National Committee requires participants to hit 2% in multiple polls and 130,000 individual donors.
Okay.
Though many campaigns are worried, DNC Chairman Tom Perez has resisted pressure to relax their requirements, which is good for him. They should not be relaxing the requirements for any reason, I don't believe.
Okay.
Especially because currently the only locks for the fall debate are now Vice President Joe Biden, Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders, Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren, California Senator Kamala Harris, and South Bend, Indiana Mayor Pete Buttigieg, with Beto O'Rourke is likely to qualify after an underwhelming debate performance last week. Even he is not guaranteed. My point being, to go back to the idea, they should definitely be lowering the requirements if 6 people are going to make it. You can move forward with 6 people on the debate stage. Also, like I said, I'm pretty confident that Andrew Yang is going to be up at least 3/4 of a point moving forward in the next few months. So there is going to be other candidates. Like Beto O'Rourke's probably going to make it there. Again, like I want to point out, it was even a bigger clown show, I think, the 2016 Republican thing at this time. If I remember, like it was even more of a mess, but still like double digits people hung in there till the 6th or 7th debate. Qualifications could have been different.
I completely remember it had to have been just the most failed ego or pride of some of these Republican candidates that would refuse to drop out or band together. They could not cooperate amongst themselves to defeat Donald Trump. He was winning pluralities in some of these primaries in these states of such small percentages. You looked at 2 other candidates and thought, if you guys just combined your percentage and one of you didn't have the ego, could just let go of their ego and band with another person, you would have defeated Donald Trump, who both of you guys say is the person who needs to get defeated, but you didn't because you couldn't let go of the dream, I guess. Like Uncle Rico in Napoleon Dynamite.
That's a good one. I like that one. That's a good one.
Exactly. So anyway.
And then just moving forward really quickly, one thing I do want to throw out, there was obviously some controversy about the last debate that was hosted by NBC. Overall, MSNBC was part of it, NBC overall. So July 30th, which is, less than 30 days from, or Yeah, 29 days from date of recording, so that's less than 30. It's going to be a debate in Detroit, Michigan. They'll be moderated by CNN.
Okay.
And then moving forward, the last debate we know of, actually, that's the last debate we have a set location for, I believe. After that, there's TBAs. ABC will be moderating the September debate, though.
So basically, the only real thing the Yang Gang has to worry about is getting him above 2% right now.
It's just polling. That's all. Most of these candidates really just polling.
What polls?
I've been admittedly struggling to find exactly what they're using to.
Because that's my only other concern is that, for example, Andrew Yang is very much a Gen Z, a millennial candidate, maybe even a Gen X candidate, because you look on YouTube and he's hitting up every major podcast. He's hitting up all the new media. He's hitting up all the alternative media. And I could see a younger audience being a lot more interested and aware of Andrew Yang than an older audience. And if they stick with the old methodologies of just doing landline phone polls, those same methodologies and polls that said Donald Trump wasn't going to win in 2016, then Andrew Yang will perform below what his real numbers are and would be skewed towards failure and non-inclusion in those debates. Whereas if it were an internet poll, for example, I could see internet polls throwing him at double the percentage that traditional polls do, because they're going to skew towards a younger audience.
Well, speaking of, just really quickly, I'm going to throw up on screen. I don't know what the four they'll be using is, but on the screen I have what Real Clear Politics lists as their top 7. I'm assuming some combination of those 4, right?
Okay.
Interesting you brought that up is because when you look at Andrew Yang's polling numbers, the way they get an average of 1.3, obviously he's doing better than that in some polls.
Okay.
He's doing one point in a lot of these polls. However, Politico, he's polling at 2%. And Monmouth, he's pointing at 2%, which admittedly I'm not 100% familiar. Monmouth University. Or Monmouth. Apologize if I pronounced that wrong. Idea being, yes, there are some polls where I think he is hitting a little bit more of that modern, younger audience, where, as you said, he's basically doubling up. He's at 2 points. But then there's polls that are perhaps a bit more traditional, where we're seeing him sitting down at 1 point. But also, I thought, interesting to bring up, a lot of you guys probably know this already, but one interesting thing about the debates and how it affected the candidates, Andrew Yang scored over 100,000 new Twitter followers after the Democratic debate.
Whoa.
So the debates did very well for him when it comes to his online reach.
Holy smoke, 100,000?
108, it looks like, more than 108. And of course, that number is going to increase every second of every day.
That's huge.
Because, internet works. That's almost 38% more than Kamala Harris, who supposedly had a big win at the debate. So you can definitely see, and one other thing that's funny online, anecdotally, I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen, if any of you guys are active on Twitter, people will post Twitter polls, who do you support in 2020? Which can't, and it's hilarious sometimes where you look at Andrew Yang's at like 57% on like a 4-person, like Yang Gang shows up in force to some of these Twitter polls and online polls.
Exactly.
So I do think you're right. There is a disparity depending on the polling method for who is where. That being said, though, it is still like, if you were to go to your street corner, wherever you live, and ask 40 people who's running for president for Democrats that they know of,
okay,
Andrew Yang realistically might not be mentioned more than a few times. I mean, it's one of the things that's so kind of dangerous about these online movements and communities. It feels like, oh yeah, Andrew Yang. Half the people I follow on Twitter are pro Andrew Yang.
And this is what frustrates me about politics. Everybody complains about their politicians, and then we show stats where like 90 some odd % of the incumbents in the House of Representatives get reelected. Yeah, the lowest reelection year was in the high 70s. So no matter what, you have a 3 out of 4 times chance to get reelected. And then also now, how stupid is a party system that demands your barrier to entry is how much money you raise instead of how good your ideas are, how many unique supporters you have, so on and so forth. We can only look at ourselves in the mirror if we ever wonder why our politics have gotten so bad.
Well, they do use unique supporters. That is one of the requirements.
Yeah. So anyway, got a lot more to talk about. We'll see you guys in the next video. Please like, subscribe, and share. Also, let us know what you think about this. This is Problem Solver Politics.